Hi, welcome to my podcast. And again, as promised, have Mark Dubose Jr. on. I really appreciate Mark you coming on. Thanks for coming on to the podcast. And I guess Mark, just again, we're going to get into a lot of subjects here. I think on this podcast here, going down certain roads here to kind of talk about, your journey, about certain things to do with just what's going on in the dog training community, the response that you're getting from that. We'll talk about some of that stuff and some interesting stuff here. So I guess for the first thing, Mark, you just want to introduce yourself for those maybe who are watching this for the first time that don't know anything about you, but and then maybe get into get some update about your journey with your dogs and what has been going on recently. So welcome, Mark. Go ahead.
Hi. Hi, my name's Mark, and I've been trying to. So I started by just getting on some land, getting on some farm, getting around more animals. And my basic understanding was I just want to start to understand more about all of these animals, and not just the what I hear and what I see other people say, but actually have my own hands in my own experience. So it's led me down a lot of different just learning things to be able to figure out more about them. And then I really started to get heavy into dogs because I had my own, and then I had my own initially just for work purposes around here, moving animals, gardening animals, doing things. And then I started getting more into the pet dog side of it because I just want to know more about mine. So dog training school seemed to be the place to go. But I just noticed in that I just everything looks good. I can have a dog do my fancy obedience and be in a heel position with me, and it seemed like everything was fine. But then at the house, it's just like, what's going on here? Especially with my dog that's getting almost 100% on all of his tests. And I'm like, this dog is doing everything flawlessly. The dog can turn a light switch on and off and take my socks off and put stuff up for me, but yet he's running away, chasing everything, just jumping and going crazy inside the house. He's just like, to me, an absolute mess. So I noticed that there was some sort of disconnect with the training stuff that I was doing and seeing, and as opposed to the reality of what I'm living with. And for me, I don't know why, but I just want to be full transparent about what I'm seeing. I don't want to say, oh, it's going pretty good. And I like how things are. And that's in reality what it's kind of been like for me this past, say, since making YouTube videos, about 3 years or so. I think it's been more than 3 years for dog stuff I've been talking. And I was just seeking more. And in reality, it's kind of like the more that I've been trying to seek more, the more pushback I'm getting from all kinds of places and all kinds of people that, in reality, starting this, I never anticipated that. I thought I'm just making videos talking about my dogs and things that are going on and talking about clients' dogs and being in people's houses and things that I've witnessed and seen. And I was just like trying to come at this in a way of like, hey, something's not lining up here. Something's not right. And then I started getting more and more pushback from just random people. And I'm just like, what's going on? So that kind of in my brain and my life, I'm kind of like, something's with that then. Something is seriously like, I don't even want to say seriously wrong, but something is weird about somebody coming to me telling me I'm wrong when all I'm trying to do is seek to figure out like the I guess I could say the truth of the matter of what's going on here. I don't want to just say, oh, it's all right, it's doing better, and just leave it at that. So that's been my process of figuring all this out from.
So that's interesting, Mark. So you've seen, like, just to kind of hang there for a second, you've seen this kind of turn towards, and I guess we'll get more into that, but this type of switch with the response from the already established dog training community, because that's really where, I talked about this before, where it comes from. Like, it's like kind of like I talk about, it's kind of like a moth to the flame. It's almost like I talk about a spiritual principle here, really. Of you're going to get more. Suddenly, you're getting these people who are getting like really offended and upset that you're talking about certain things. You're talking about the process a certain way, but at the same time, Mark, we'll talk about that. But at the same time, you're seeing like real change with your dogs. You know what I'm saying? You're
Yeah.
seeing something different happening here at the same time, right?
And then to me, it's not even because I've noticed that changes started happening based on how people would say and bring into like comments and conversations to me, where it's like I'm just living, but clearly this is the thing that I'll say up front. I'm not this well established, well known, well anything. I'm just an absolutely nobody. But I do know that somehow in something that I'm able to say, even just show on a video, and talk about through videos that some people are putting me in this category of like, man, this guy knows what he's doing. So somehow things, but this has always been my life. I do stuff because when I first started making videos, I was just doing typical dog training, balance training 101. And those videos were getting, like, when my channel started, that's why I have so many subscribers. Like, in reality, in my opinion, kind of quick where it happened. I was getting 10, 15, 20,000 views plus a video that I was making in the beginning. And people are like, oh, this is awesome. This is looking good. But I was still having my same issues. So, and then when I started to switch to something's not right here, I just saw a huge fall off. Like, there was one time that I just lost over 1,000 subscribers, like not even in a week's time. And I'm like, something's weird about that for sure at this moment. That I just noticed it's more of, I want to feel good as opposed to things being good. And I didn't want to, I had that chance of like, I could grow this channel, keep doing this stuff and keep, get more popular, I guess, get more recognition that way. But that was just like it's not lining up. So I have to quit. I have to quit that. And I have to say, hey, what I was doing, what someone else was doing and other people out there, if y'all are getting y'all success that you claim, then, cool, do what you do. But me doing those exact same methods, it literally led me to the point that I was frustrated, so frustrated. And me going to people's houses and being the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th trainer coming in, seeing that they're also having the same problems I'm having, me trying to come to them saying, I have a different approach, but yet it was technically, in reality, the same approach. I just didn't talk about it the same way. I didn't use the same language, but I realized that I'm doing the same, like, say, techniques and stuff. And just realizing, like, y'all are still in the same situation. I can come to anybody and give you some relief right now. Like, that was my say, magic looking go-to. Going to somebody's house and they're struggling, and literally in 20 minutes, they're already like, wow, this dog is looking so much better. And I was able to put that show on. That's why I got super fascinated with, say, like the Dog Dad. He is what I think of today as the ultimate of putting a show on. The ultimate of like, look at this crazy dog, and an hour later, it's literally looking like it's fine.
And that's interesting, Mark, as you say that, because I was thinking this the other day, like the transition from going from certain approaches, like, from, say, Dog Daddy, and then going to somebody else, and then somebody else, and then someone, like everyone offering a different type of idea of things, and then transitioning over to where you're at now. And take my personality out of it. This isn't about me that way, but I'm talking about just about the method itself, like the methods involved. And I say this because the same thing when I've done my series about the balanced dog trainers will say the same thing. They'll say, some balanced dog trainers say, well, I ended up as a balanced dog trainer because, or they put themselves in a certain place where they say, well, they experienced a certain thing with dogs. For example, I mentioned Larry Crohn's name, only because when I did the back and forth breakdown series between him and Ivan having this conversation, Larry at one point says that. He says, well, I experienced, training where these trainers were using remote collars in a way in which made these dogs scream, and he didn't like that. But then kind of like throwing the baby out with the bathwater, he just kind of rejected anything to do with like how he's seen punishment a certain way. And then he moved over to another idea of things. But then how I see, he's still not in a good place with actually figuring things out. Like, he's still this same problem with the type of picture that's being I'm not just saying this inherent to someone like Larry, but there's certain popular dog trainers out there who are put themselves out there. But because I focus on the information, I'm saying, hold on here a second. Why not re-audit? Why not take a serious look at this? Why not? Even when I did my flipping the script series, the point of that series wasn't to focus on people that way. It was to say all these controversies are happening for a reason. Like, they point towards something. They're pointing towards to say, okay, what is training really? Like, how does this all come together to make sure that we're not marketing a fake picture of the dog owners? Like how does it actually transfer over? So all to say, to go back to I want you to speak a little more about that. How do you see your journey through that? Like, you start with the Dog Day, like you said, but then kind of moving through figuring things out. Mark, how did that kind of work for you?
Well, it's in a sense of just wanting to know the real as opposed to the show. Because for me, and even just talking to someone the other day, talking about like even just money and being able to help people. Because at the end of the day, I realized that, because you can just look at it in the sense of like the views and the what trainers are elevated the most. Most people literally just really want to show. They don't really want that how and what it takes, and that what I want to say is hard work to actually get real change. Most people, I mean, most all people just want to show. They want it to look good, seem good, appear good. And that's great. That is a great thing for money and popularity. But as far as getting to the core of what's going on, that's the thing that I've just realized, like, especially just one of my recent videos of change. Change isn't fun and exciting and playful and let's go have treats and that's not what change represents. Change is really, really, really challenging. It's probably the most challenging thing for us as human beings at the end of the day. And then if it's challenging, going to be challenging for the animals as well, to say, hey, we've been doing this away for so long. Now let's go ahead and try and do something this way. And that's something for me, like personally, that I just see as being real deceiving in a lot of dog trainer stuff, because they always, not always, but most always, like bring in dogs that are already really nice dogs, like well-bred dogs, going to specific breeders, have like, they always showcasing these dogs. They're not living with the reality of like what most people and clients and dog owners are dealing with. Of, I've had the dog for 3 years. I've had this issue, and whatever reason, 3 years later, it's like, I have to do something about it. So if that dog has been perceiving you for 3 years that way, coming in to say, hey, let's play this game to get you in a better place, that's not change. That's not going to really get the dog to see the situation any differently. So as much as it's hard for us to change, it's going to be hard on the dog in reality for a little while, because they have to start to get a new understanding of what's going on. And that's one thing that, for me to say to anybody, if your dog's always walked with you this way, try to get them to walk with you a different way and watch the challenge that you're going to go through. It's not just going to be, oh, I'll get it done in an hour. It's like, no, if that dog's been walking with you for 3 years like this, and like say on your left side, now I want the dog to automatically go to my right side. Like, that's not just some overnight fix. The dog is already programmed basically in on doing something a certain way. So to come in and change that, it's gonna take some time, and it's gonna, at the end of the day, for me, it's not gonna say look pretty. It's gonna be something that's gonna be a challenge for the dog. They're gonna struggle as much as you're gonna struggle, and it's a matter of like continuously going through that struggle to be able to get them to understand what you want in this new way, as opposed to something that we've been doing for so long. I think that's the biggest. That's what I personally have always liked doing with my dogs, is like, even my border collie, he's done something away for 7 years. And I'm like, what is it going to take for me to get him to do it like this instead now? And I started to like really see the major problems in that. Whereas getting a dog brand new, already saying, doing certain things a certain ways from day one, it's like, you're going to not have as much pushback from that animal, because it already knows you as that second one. That's why for me, I can say, like, me as a trainer coming in with a new dog, I can get that dog to look good because I'm already saying, this is what I want the second that it sees me. And it's not going to push back at me. But with the owner, it's like, what's going on here?
Well, because it turns into the point of a reversal now, because when that relationship goes sideways, like you said, a new dog coming in, and if you have the right personality, I say, like, influence and control are happening at the social level throughout the relationship beyond just an idea of things, right? It's like your whole day, what you're doing to interact with that dog, and the dog's level too, what level is that dog's social needs. I talk about high drive dogs, but it's like some dogs have a higher social need than other dogs. So if those things kind of work out, then you could, and this is part of the deception of things, is that, for example, I could engage this idea, use treats, and be marketing this ideology, and based on my personality type and how I'm interacting with that dog at all points of the relationship throughout the day, change will happen the right way. Like, I'm going to have that dog at a really high level, but then the people coming to me, Mark, that were those core ingredients of double influence control, they have to, because now it's a reversal situation for them, and they're coming in, and if what transfers over, this ideology, this using treats and those core ingredients, are not going to align, not going to be reconciled properly in the relationship with their dog, I'll be looking at responses in a superficial way anyway as a trainer, right? Because I'm not focused the right way to begin with, and they could be failing. Like, they could be ending up with a bad picture, and I won't even know it as a trainer. And that's the blame shifting that happens, right? It's just like you could have a 30-40% fail rate as a trainer, and not even know it, not even understand it. And see, this is the problem that's happening in the dog training world, is so many trainers there's no depth involved. They're not engaging or understanding, what's happening beyond just appearances. Like, they're just assuming things, because really everything at a certain level based on responses are assumption based. You're just assuming that sit or that down or whatever it is what it is. It's just that means that dog is seeing you the right way through that response. And that sometimes most times just simply isn't true, so, because it's how we're engaging the relationship problem from the beginning that matters. You know what I'm saying? It's about how we're connecting, how those core ingredients I keep talking about, how they align. Because, like, again, a video put out today was talking about there's a way to know. There's a way to put it to the test. And, and so you don't have to lean on whether you like me as a person or not, or anything to do with any of that stuff. And that's the good news. There's a way that anyone can put what I say to the test and can know from the beginning how that dog perceives you in that relationship, with certain things lining up, like the dog understanding intent, the leash, right? I talk about the leash a lot, but influence and control, how the direction of the leash, the dog understanding what it's a demand, takes form of demand, all those things line up. And that's why what happened was so interesting this week. We'll get into this when, I talk about how trainers want to try to come at me. Certain trainers, like you talk about, Kevin, just one example, but there's many out there. This goes back, there's history here with so many trainers, but it's like, I just respond by the information. I'm like saying, okay, you can say whatever you want, but I know the real deal here as to how this lines up. So, and with Kevin, it was amazing. To me, it was amazing this week because, I said this, like, he could have done this a year ago, like with the leash and with putting that test to his dog with Grey Goose. He didn't do it. And there was a moment where he kind of was upset, and he kind of did, he put, watch it, but that wasn't the way that it lines up. But he did it, and I rode that wave when he did it. He did it this week, where you saw Grey Goose locked down. Then Grey Goose knew the intent. Grey Goose knew what Kevin wanted to do in terms of the demand part. There were some distractions in the background with a hammering on the roof, but there it is, busted. I mean, you saw it right there. And then it was interesting to me. I said that now suddenly he's admitting I've watched about 2 hours of your debate with him, but now suddenly he's admitting all these problems. Yeah, but he didn't say that before. But suddenly he's saying it all now because you did what I didn't want to do, because people have to understand something here. We're not, like, I've been around the block, so when I choose to have a discussion with some of these trainers or not, it's because when they go to a certain level with me with just the cheap shots and the personal attacks, I just don't have any interest. There's nothing to do with them winning anything, because this goes back to, I talked about Christopher Upton way back. He since has passed away, but I don't, even the video I did on his situation, I took that down out of just respect of not leaving it up there, because I was redoing on my videos. But a lot of his stuff's still up there on me. And it's the same playbook that, guys like, Kevin are using now to try to cheap shot their way through it and try to, but it doesn't matter to me. It's just like, I left that alone because it's like, I refuse to have a discussion with Upton, demanded debate and all this stuff. And it's the same stuff. I just said no, because I don't respect you as a person, because you've said so much about my family and you went to places that you didn't need to go with that. And you can put the same because he had the same opinions about leashes and the same play. And I said, well, he was in a mess for a reason. Not just him, but there's so much controversy in the dog training world, right? And I just I leave alone because I don't have to debate and engage that way, because for me, it's different. You know what I'm saying? I put the information out, you can put it all to the test. But the dog training world is set up, it's in such bad shape. These trainers, this is what they do. They want to but it would go back to what with Kevin in the test. I rode that way because it's like, okay, great. Now he's done it. He didn't want to do it before, but you put him in that position. Not bad, but you were like, you say, yeah, I'll talk to you. And you talk to him, and, but you saw how that debate, I've watched this, the cheap shots and wanting to use anything to try to grab onto something to try to leverage himself out of his situation. But it's not, but see, people have to understand, it's the arrogance with people. I talk about this. You got to humble yourself, have enough humility to say, I want to know. I want to know what the real deal is here. I want to know. I want to move beyond appearances. I want to know if I'm dealing with a fake and phony picture. How do I know? And here's the problem. If you're an already established dog trainer, it's hard because there's no backing out. You gotta take that and push it to the side. And actually, because it puts you in a trade-off situation. I talked about it. So it's like, so the attack part of this, what's happening right now to you, and because there's going to be that switch, because it was amazing too, because we just had yesterday. I wasn't even aware of them that way. I had some people over. I think they were in Russia, but they've been following me, I guess, doing my methodology for a while. I had no clue, and they put these videos out, and they're amazing. If you go look at those videos they just put out, they're over there doing my method and with the dogs, and they're showing everything, and they're talking through everything, and it's great because they have the same way of talking. They're doing it, but they're showing it. And so anyway, just go back. I just kind of go into this thing about how did you see that? I guess now that you had that conversation with Kevin, what was your takeaway there, Mark, through that? Like, in terms of just, I guess, in general, or how do you see kind of the dog training world as a whole? I guess not to focus too much on Kevin, but just in terms of what's going on, you kind of alluded to that there's a kind of a switch. It's kind of a switch with trainers like not liking like what you're saying and not liking the information.
I just noticed that I think the biggest takeaway is it's nothing even with him. I see this with so many people. I mean, guys that are out here they've got a crazy, like what I want to say is a massive business set up to be able to help folks with dogs. And I think the main thing that I just really come to the conclusion of is they just don't notice there is anything wrong. Like they don't see it as anything is wrong. It's like they look at everything as fine. It's fine. This is just the way it is. If I have a dog and it's still reactive and barking at other dogs, that's just the way that it is. And there's like no way of getting past that. And it's like, I hear it even from big name trainers out there. They're like, oh, it's the genetics of the dog. It's more protective. It's more of this. It's more of that. It's like, I think that's just that they just literally just don't know that. And I can't even say that you're wrong, because they're not wrong at the end of the day in their mind, because they're doing everything fine. They're doing everything that they know that they're capable of being able to do. So that's what I see is the norm. Because it's like, when someone makes a statement and then I can clearly see that there's that statement isn't true, and then be able to say, hey, this is where that statement's not true at, they literally can't see it. It's just, it's completely oblivious.
But I guess one of the things, Mark, and I just want your response to this, and this is why I did my flipping the scripts here, is the dog training world is in such a mess. You look at what's happening right now with this Balanced Dog Training Association and all the controversy over like punishment. And that's what triggered things off, and all this back and forth with these trainers who are like calling each other out, trying to call each other out, trying to gain some sort of social media traction. But I guess the question is like, do you think some of that is just like them not knowing, or are they doing it on purpose, or is it a combination of both? Or how do you see it? Because the dog training world is in such a mess. Why do you think these trainers don't want to actually ask the questions, say that you're asking? To say, like, let's figure this out. Like, we got to know what's going on here, because things aren't getting better. They seem to be getting worse.
Yeah, I think that there's the few that know what they're doing isn't right. I think there's the few, and the few are what I want to say are the king leaders that have all the programs, all the books, all the seminars, all the everything. There's the few that I personally believe know that they're lying to people, because it's greed, I think, is the number one thing, and the being a celebrity is trumping over being able to actually know, like, to push further in. Hey, I know something's wrong, and I think that there's a few, and then there's some people that come in, because even like me and say dog training school, how many people from my dog training class and then the internship that I went there are actually full-time training dogs right now? I'm going to say probably like not even 5%, because you get into it in a sense of, I want to change. I want to help. I want to do this. Like, now I have the skills to be able to help people with their dogs. And then they're still struggling with the dog. They're still having massive issues with the dog. That was a big thing that I found in the internship. It's like, because I was able to get to talk to the instructors, that students from my class are sending them emails of, hey, this is going on with my dog. Like, what do I do with this with my dog? We didn't even talk about this in the class. Like, what do we do? And I think that a lot of people want to like, I don't even want to put a bad thing on the school that I went to, but I
Sure.
think it's
Yeah.
more of a money thing as opposed to a knowing how to be able to get people into a real better place. It's I think that's what gets stuck. And I think that a lot of people like, I'm gonna dog train, I'm gonna do this. And then you're taking these lessons from these, say, professional trainers, and you're taking their courses and you're going to their seminars, and then you're trying to do what they do, and you're personally not getting anywhere, or you're personally seeing issues, and they say, oh, don't look at that, don't worry about that, that's what it is, that's just the trickle effects of what we have that we're doing here. And I think that, and then they just quit because they're like, well, I, what's going on here? And then the few that still keep pushing along, they see it. I mean, this business in reality is a very big, huge money making business if you're willing to just ride that train of everything is just good enough, and just don't pay attention to that over there, but just look at, oh, see, the dog can look good walking on leash in public, so we're good, right? Because that was like the biggest thing that I was always doing for folks. It's like, yeah, you had problems over here, but it's like, but you could take the dog anywhere. A lot of people just want to be able to take the dog places. And I was like, oh yeah, I can, and it may not be the right way of saying things, but I just say my language. I can force the dog to be with you, to not look at this, not look at that. I mean, I could put a prong collar on most all dogs and an e-collar on most all dogs. They're staring at something, just give them a bump with it, and they're not going to look at it anymore. It could seem like it's fine, but for me personally, it got to the point of like, that just, it felt risky, because I'm like, well, what if, because for me personally with my Kahi, if my e-collar wasn't charged up, what would happen? If I thought it was charged and I seen him doing something and I tapped that collar and he didn't respond from it, and I know that I don't have connection with him like that, what's going to happen now? And that could be a potentially dangerous situation for some folks, especially if you have a dog that's.
Yeah, it's a thing of, and again, I knew this like years ago. I had a situation in Canada with when I was on Prince Edward Island. I was like doing dog training then. I was still a police officer at the time, so I was doing dog training to the side. But there was a lady there that was in my area, and she had a whole pack of dogs, like 6, 7 dogs, kind of following the Caesar Milan approach, right? But had gone to a trainer, balance trainer, had remote collars on all these dogs, but she thought she had a level of control in these dogs with these remote collars that she really didn't have.
Yeah.
And it's a really good example of it. So what happened was one of the dogs, like a jogger went by her house. The two pit bulls went after that jogger, and she was hitting that collar at like 100 at the highest level. And, and the backpacks were on the dogs, like the Caesar Milan, like give the dog a job backpack.
Mhm.
The dogs like tore up those backpacks, and there's just like, it was a chaos, right? And the jogger
Yeah.
got bit on the ankles. Thankfully, it wasn't like a serious bite, but it was enough to get the police, not my police department. The RCMP got involved in the situation, and we got to destroy one of those dogs. I had to be careful because as a police officer, to kind of separate myself, not have a conflict of interest. But I got involved in that situation as a trainer because she came to me, and I was like, "Listen," I told her what happened, why it happened. I said, "You didn't have these dogs. Yes, you thought you had that level of control, and with those remote collars, but the dogs didn't see you the right way. They
Yeah.
still were, it didn't change anything. It was just like this kind of false sense of having something, having that level. And so when I said, we got to get rid of those collars. We have to take it down to this base level of the interactions, double the interactions, the right conversation, that's what changed everything. And she had there's a death order on that dog that came through the courts. Her dog was going to be destroyed. And she was in a panic. And I put a letter into the court, and that case was dismissed. The officer involved didn't even show up, and so thankfully, because I said this is a rehab situation, the person wasn't seriously hurt. It was just like really fortunate everything worked out the way that it did. And but had to remove all that stuff and get down to the crux of the actual relationship, right? Getting the dogs to see her the right way. Once that happened, everything changed. And but that's the point of everything, is to say, yeah, you could, if you're not dialed in the right way, if you're like balanced dog training, talk about this, they're in a reactive posture. I mean, the role of influence isn't even tied in properly. So, and then you get dealing with these high drive dogs, these 1 percentile dogs, as you know, with Kai, that's what's going to take it to the edge. That's what's going to cause you to question everything, to say, what the heck is it? And then it comes down to, is it really the fault of the dog? because understand the dog training world is such a massive thing happening here that blaming dogs seems to be normal. Like the genetics issue seems to be normal. Oh, well, maybe it is a genetic problem. I'm saying no. Okay. I'm
Yeah.
saying, the genetic thing is just, it seems like an easy out. I'm saying no. I've dealt with these dogs, and you have to, because it has to, you have to tie into a method that's going to bring it to the social level the right way, to bring it down to the relationship the right way, to provide clarity to the dog. And so, but that's interesting that you say, yeah, remote callers. So Mark, go carry on. So you saw that through your journey with devices as well.
Yeah, I've seen, because especially the e-collars, because I it was Larry Corwin that had he's got a whole book, and then he's actually made a little video mini series thing that he started charging to be able to see how to be able to use it. And I was just noticing the same stuff from him and then I was actually watching more remote collar stuff from guys that are training their dogs for like to get them to stop chasing sheep and stuff, like the farmers that use it for that. And they use it in a completely different way. But I just noticed that it's just a common theme. You have to bump it up. You have to dial it up. And if I have to dial it up in a, say, not so dangerous situation, such as my dog is reacting towards another dog, and the dog is 100 yards away, and I give him a tap, and I have to dial it up to convince him to come back. If that dog is closer to us, I don't care. That dog's gonna, that 100, 200, some of these things go to 220s and stuff. The double box, it's just not gonna do anything. It's not gonna help. That's why it's like I really look for the dogs that are like have e-collars on, that are out in public and seeing how they're acting. I literally look for them, and in reality, like throughout this short amount of years. So I went to that school in 21, so 5 years, short 5 years. I've noticed in my area here, less and less and less of these dogs are out in public. And I think it's because people just know something's not right. I dialed it up once to an 80 or 100 on the e-collar technologies one, which is pretty much maxing it out. And the dog it came back, but yet it still was focused over there. So then in reality, where are you? You're completely defeated because you've used the top level tool that's available to us to be able to say, get these dogs under control. And you're realizing, like, how come it's not going? How come it's not working? And someone's going to say, oh, you just didn't train the dog correctly with it. I'm like, when that dog, because I've worked with lots of different dogs. Some dogs, you put it a little bit high and yes, they will pee themselves. They will poop. They will fold, lay over into complete submission. And there's other dogs that just take it. They're just like, whatever. Like, I don't, and most dogs that I've seen are like that. They'll seem like they take that, say, correction good at first, but then it just gets to the point that the dog knows what it feels like. They understand it. And then I need more. And then I need more. And then once you get to that point that you can't go no more, what are we going to do now? That's where I'm like, there's something wrong here. Because that's me, my personal, my shepherd cow. I can hit him on the 70 or the 80 on that e-collars technology, and he would not look. But then there's times that you tap it and the boy doesn't even flinch. He's just locked in. And it's not even a matter of, oh, he doesn't understand, like, say, my intent. No, he understands it. He's not caring to listen to anything I have to say, that I have to come up with a higher level of, like, say, discipline to him.
It's about being, that's the thing. It's about how the dog perceives you the right way from, in terms of what's the way to do that. I said about the right conversation, not verbal conversation, the right conversation through those core ingredients socially with how the interactions. Okay. That's what, so when people watch my videos, the board and trains, what are you seeing? Like, what are you seeing during most of those 14 days? You're seeing me in close, tight with the dogs on the leash. You're seeing me express influence and control in a very proactive way to right conversation to change the focus of the dog, okay, onto me. The perceptions are aligned. Then the remote collar, because it's not about the tool, like the tool itself is an extension of the relationship, right? So if you're seeing the right way through the actual method the right way, then the tool is going to make sense to the dog too, because it's an extension of you, right? Through how the perceptions have already changed at a certain level. Right. And then that remote collar can be used as a secondary tool or whatever. But you have to be very careful. I tell these trainers, if that doesn't happen, you start to kind of jump over that and just try to use these tools as a pivot point, you're going to have problems. It's going to put more stress on the dog. The dog's going to try to fight through it. And like you said, it's not going to really, and then you're going to think like the situation I just said, the example I used with the lady and her dog, the bad thing, something bad's going to happen. You're going to be left holding the bag saying, what the heck just
Yeah.
happened? I'm in a really bad position now, and you're trying to say, well, and see, that's what happens. And usually it's too late. Like that situation there, that dog could have been destroyed or something really bad could have happened to that person.
Yeah.
Those things happen all the time. And these trainers, what they do, I find, instead of like walking it back and asking questions about, okay, what's really going on, they just want to write it off because it's so much, like he says, they're incentivized by money. They can just write it off. And if you have this many trainers doing it, if you have like over 90% of dog trainers doing it, then it seems normal to blame the
Yeah.
dog or to write it off because it's like, well, it's such a massive, and that's what's happening now. The dog training world is set up this way at such a level that trainers aren't incentivized to do the right thing. Like you said, Mark, I mean, as soon as you started making that switch of talking different about the process, you lost 1,000 subscribers. I mean,
Like
because
instantly.
instantly,
Yeah.
and because that's what's going to
Yeah.
happen. I tell these trainers, I don't care who you are, if you make the switch, because ethically and morally, that's why I talk about this is a moral issue here. Because if we really care about dogs, then we should be wanting to express that through, advocating the right way. But the problem is, if I start advocating the right way, then you're going to lose. Yeah, you're going to lose your whole everything because you've been selling that fake picture the entire time. You've been telling dog owners their feet because people find comfort in a lie. A lie can sound great and it can look great and it can appeal to people's emotions and a certain way, but then it's not great because in the end, look at it. It has consequences because the
Yeah.
entire dog training world is in shambles and these trainers aren't going to back out of it. You have to understand, because when I watched that debate between you and Kevin, and like all the cheap shots, and he's trying to go certain places to try to avoid answering the questions about his own dog, right? But you see, they put themselves in that position anyway, because the arrogance ain't going to save you. You can be as arrogant as you want and prideful as you want, but that is your blind spot. Like that's what happened to a lot of these trainers. It's like because then you're not going to see it anyway. Like you said, it's like you're going to be caught in that trap, and that's not a good place to be. Yeah, you can make more money and you're going to be more successful than someone like me, but not the right way. Success for them. Notice how they keep going back into their pride and I got this, I got that. Listen, that's just gonna get thrown on the rocks. I mean, you could, Zach George would say the same thing. Zach George, why do you think Zach George can get away with saying all the stuff he's saying and doing everything? Because balanced dog trainers can't confront him on it. They can't call him out because why do you think they get this example of the association, the Balanced Dog Trainer Association, that bringing speakers into the association that are pure force-free trainers to speak at their association? I talk about there's so many contradictions and there's so many red flags that you should be telling people that, okay, hold on here a second, what is going on? But see, to do that as an individual puts these trainers in a position that they don't want to go. Because if you're going to do that, you need to do it either at the beginning, because it's so much harder, Mark, as you know, as a trainer from before, because you can answer this question for me. How much more difficult is it for, say, a trainer to back out of what they're marketing if they've already crossed those lines? Like for you talk about losing 1,000 subscribers, but what type of shell shock situation are trainers in?
Yeah, because even just for my own personal self, it's like YouTube stuff and channel. It's like whatever. I'm just looking at my own personal self, but it has been hard for me because a lot of times I get stuck in that whole. Cause that's just what I learned in dog training school. Is it looks good, right? It looks good, and it's just been hard for me to just. It looks good. It looks fine. Like everything is good because it looks good right now, as opposed to being able to do something to see is it good or not. Because I learned that quick with Kahi. Oh, he's fine with his food because everything looked fine. I could tell him to wait, sit down, heel. I mean, we used to do all kinds of little tricks before it sometimes, and I get him to walk backwards. I get him to wave both different. I mean, do all these things. It looks good. I was like, yeah, and he doesn't. He goes to the food, and I could tell him to come back to a heel. He'll come back. I'm like, everything's fine. It looks good. Like everything is good. And then I put him on the leash for the first time ever because I've never put a leash on my dog and fed my dogs ever. And then I did it for the first time. And this dude was like, that was one of the first times I was like a little nervous that, I think I might have to put a muzzle on this boy right now. Like, what's happening? because when we're playing our tricks, it's like he's ahead of me. He's not caring about me. He's like, I'll do this foolishness for you for a second, but buddy, I'm taking that. That's mine. And certain dogs, I mean, you can get away with just yelling at them or something to get them to get away from it. But other dogs, if you do, especially with food, you do anything, that dog's going to come right back at you. And that's the dangerous stuff that I for sure want to be able to talk about, because you may get away with it with a lot of dogs, majority dogs. But if you are giving this advice to somebody and that one person ends up dead because the dog just went all out, it didn't want to hold back, that's we should never be living that way. But I noticed that there was a huge issue. This dog is whipping around, jumping all on top of me, like trying to nibble on my beard. And I'm just like, dude, like, chill out. And then when I finally got him to just chill out and eat his food, I noticed, I mean, that really didn't take too long. That was like not even 2 weeks doing that every single day. After that 2 weeks, I'll put his food down. He's just right there with me on the leash. And he would just look at me. He's like, what are we doing? And I was like, okay, you can go ahead and go eat now. Like, just so calm, just go eat. He would just look at me still and wait, like, you sure? All right, I'll go eat my food now. And then he would just go eat. And it was just like this calm, peaceful situation. And when he's calm eating, I'm not even as worried anymore of like what's going to happen, because before, when he's eating, he's just going after it. It's just like, dude, what the heck is happening right now? And in that state of mind, the dog it's may not be the right word, but it's dangerous in reality, because you don't want to be around that situation. But yeah, I thought everything was fine. But then when I put that leash on, I saw how it was acting. I was like, well, something for sure weird is going on. And then I started putting that more and more in other places of like, it looks good, but is it good? So then I just put the leash on the dog. Let's see what they're going to do now. Because even my border collie, he looks good around the animals. If I'm just walking, he's not chasing and doing and going and cruising. I was like, he looks good. But then I put him on a leash and I walked in that backyard around everything. This boy's doing the same thing. He like, you could just see the like this excessive amount of like just energy maybe, but just this craziness in him of like, I gotta do something. And then I was like, no, buddy, we need to slow this down. I just started noticing all those things that it's hard, because at first, for sure, because I'm looking at it like, oh, everything's fine. It looks good. And then I was really starting to, how do I know it's good? And that really, it did challenge me, because at the end of the day, when you think everything is great, you kind of want to stay at that. You don't want to get to the point that you're like, oh, I do have a lot of problems here. That's hard for, I think, most humans to really just like accept. You want to just say it's good. You don't want to realize, and I think I made a video on that a while ago of like, I know why you don't want to put a leash on, because you'll see the issue, but you don't want to see the issue.
And Mark, that goes into the question here, like, because in that debate you had with Kevin, he wanted to try to go back to that and say, well, Mark's, he wasn't being honest in his journey with, where he was at and, with his dogs. He's putting a video. But how would you, now you have the moment here to kind of, talk about that, because a lot of that was just him cutting you off and stuff. But how do you see your journey through that when you say that, okay, you weren't in a good place? You talked about this before with your dogs and you kind of knew it, but now coming to that through, say, Kai was the dog that really blew that out of the water. But how would you see that journey now? Like when you look back on that, how would you see that in terms of explaining, guys like that say, well, he wasn't being honest, or what he wanted to kind of go there with that. But, I kind of see it, I know how I see it, but how would you describe that whole kind of situation?
I see it as, so let's just start with when I got the Dalmatian. She just turned 3 the other day. So I've had her for 2 years and some now. Since I got her, everything looked better. Mm-hmm. But the thing is that I've just started to notice just, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 months ago is everything wasn't better. It just looked better. So just because it looked better doesn't mean that it is better. And that's something that I would want a lot of people to like really, really pay attention to. Because I got a really interesting comment the other day of, it used to be a 10 out of a 10, but now it's 2 out of a 10. It looks better. But then that to me today, I'm like, well, that 2 means that it's not better. That means that there's still something in there that's just not right. Just because it looks better doesn't mean that it actually is. It just, it's that image of.
Yeah, and that's a great point because part of the problem here is the problem with appearances, how things, like you said, things look. Influence and control does come in. And you could say that about, I can say that about Kevin's approach, right? There's a level, because I never deny that there's going to be some change that will come in, through even doing the four quadrants, a negative, right? You bring that in through, what you're doing. Some change can come in, but the problem here is you get the issue about at what level, and the issue about appearances, because typically trainers are just assuming that it is what it is. It looks good, it must be good.
Yeah.
So for them to even assess the levels of that, you know what I'm saying? Because when you consider the problem with appearances, the problem with really kind of getting focused in on those core ingredients, like how those are reconciled, and then the dog that say Kaihi, or the dog that totally blows it out of the water, because you might have a sense anyway, say, well, I kind of know that with my other dog, it's like this doesn't seem sketchy, or there's something not right. And so it's kind of like it's there, you know what I'm saying? It's like you kind of have a sense that it's maybe sideways a little bit, but then suddenly you get bitten or something with the dog. It's like, what the heck just happened? Was that kind of like,
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm saying what happened with you? Is that kind of a combination of things?
Yeah, that was like a very eye-opening experience for me of it looks good. And then that's why someone could say, well, you need to, if you know a dog is going to bite, then, you're going to handle it differently. But I never anticipated that it would happen because everything was looking good. Food was looking good. Hanging out with the other dogs, like everything was just looking pretty good. I was like, okay, everything is fine at this moment. But then that's the thing of, is it, is it really good? That's the part of, most dogs aren't going to go to the point of putting their teeth on somebody, but that doesn't mean that they're not doing the same thing. And that's the core that I think that most people don't pay attention to, because a dog does it. This one dog does it this way. This dog does it this way. Mine doesn't do it like that. So mine must be fine. And that's not true at all.
No, no. Well, there's a good example because when Christian Hirschman came to me with Hildegard, it's on video, but we came to me again. He's the guy who went through my courses, so people want to say about courses and stuff. He went through the whole thing, came on the other side, in great shape. But the thing is, when Hildegard came, he said to me, he said, Dale, like Hildegard, I think there might be a food possession issue. I don't really know for sure, but there's something sketchy there. Well, guess what happened? When I took Hildegard as a board and train, and I was like and Hildegard came around, and then again, how I interacted with her, leading towards the food, with the interactions, right, providing the clarity. Guess what happened? Well, the teeth came out like in a big
Yeah.
way. It was like, I'm going to get bit here in a second, or she's going to try to bite me, and that's
Yeah.
what provides. Right there's the reality. So it's the same situation, like because he, with him, because of no fault of his own, right? Because this is the thing about just not knowing, right? He's
Yeah.
just going based on appearances, like you said. So some of it isn't really like the dog owner's fault at all. It's just like because some of these dogs, it's like that they're able to kind of keep you on the outside looking in, so to speak, because you're not interacting in that way where it's lining up properly. And it's like this is what happens to people all the time. But if a trainer, say someone like yourself, someone does know and they're able to line it up and say, okay, I know for sure now. It's like he kind of suspected that all along, but then he could see it, and then it's like now we can deal with it. Like now we can really get in the mix here so that we can sort through this and get this reversed. Because here's the problem: if you don't know, or if you don't have the right approach to resolve it, then you're in trouble. Like something bad's really bad's going to happen to somebody, and then what
Yeah.
happens? Then what are your options? Like it's like you got to destroy the dog, or you got to someone gets bitten or whatever. But that's what happens. Some of these dogs, and his dog's the same way. It's like these, I call them 1 percentile dogs. They're the dogs that are going to expose the underbelly of what the problem is. They're going to expose the fake picture because you're going to take a hit, and that doesn't mean it's always a bad thing in a way if you're not seriously hurt, because that can cause you to totally change. Some trainers are getting bitten, all the time, and they don't see it, and they don't that doesn't cause them to ask the questions. They just like they end up at the hospital or something, and they just keep moving on the same way. I'm like, there's something wrong with that. Like if you're
Yeah.
gonna
I hear you.
get bitten, wouldn't that cause you to say, okay, what happened? Like you
Yeah.
took it as a right. You talk about spatial pressure, but you took it as a right as a way to kind of reevaluate things.
Yeah. Cause that's something that I, if a dog is biting and chewing on me, there's something wrong going on. There's something very, very wrong, because that's like a last thing in reality that a dog should have to go into. There's going to be certain dogs that are just, say, tougher to their core inside, that they will stand up more. Which for me, in reality, thinking of like applying spatial pressure to my dog outside of my patio, he's getting locked into a corner. He's in a corner. He has to do something. There's certain dogs that are just, they will follow through, as opposed to just like being so scared they just cower down and completely submit. But how my eye sees it is, especially like today, just working with two completely different dogs, of a Dalmatian and my Shepherd, they're both doing the exact same thing. My Dalmatian, Ophi, she just doesn't have that toughness of, I'm going to bite. She's just like, no, I'm just going to lay down. And it's the same between them, because I'm starting to see the same between all of these dogs. I mean, even when I'm walking out in public, I'm starting to see these same things, and each dog they just express it a little bit differently. But it's the same issues that are going on, and that's why it's like, oh, it looks better, it looks like it's getting somewhere, but if it's still there, it's still there. Even if it's still there a little bit, it's still there, and that means that little bit can get to the point that it could be more. Today the dog is freezing up. Tomorrow it might be running away. Tomorrow it might be running away. The next day it might be running forward head first into it. It's still there, and depending on the situation is where it could escalate to a point where you're like, you're kind of blown away. Like, I never thought that would. I thought everything was okay, and that's what I really want to be able to talk more of. It's in that sense of it. You may think it's okay. It may seem like it's okay, but you haven't really like proven that it's okay. You haven't done something to be able to see like what's really happening here, what's really going on. That's why I really like being able to just see the dog with, if it's reactive and barking, for instance, it's just easy to see that. It's harder to see a dog that's literally so scared it's kind of frozen and shut down. It's harder to really say like, oh, there's something wrong with the dog, where it's bad. You know, most people don't do anything with that dog.
Well, you can see the shell game though too. The trainers, like I talked about Kevin, but a lot of trainers do this too. But off leash, that's why I keep going back to the whole off leash thing, because the off leash thing, appearances again, it doesn't offer up a true reality as to how the dog perceives you. You know what I'm saying? The dog could be following you for the wrong reasons, like attached to a possessive way. And so there's the attachment to that relationship happening anyway at the social level. But you see what happened here with him is like even on his live stream, it was just a big deal. Like the live stream with an off leash dog, you can play the shell game that way, which means that you're walking one direction. Gray Goose start having a reaction. He just starts moving the other way. You don't even know what's going on. You just oh, look, the dog's still following me. No, the dog's actually starting to have a reaction from whatever's going on. But now you're moving, but you're offering up as though this dog is a certain way. But see, what exposed all of it was that leash. Once the leash got on that dog, and that's what reveals it right there. And then suddenly, I said in the video, suddenly it's kind of funny now. He's like talking about this dog's got all these problems now, right? Because there's nowhere to go. It's like it puts you in that. See, there's a way to know, and so you don't have to guess. But you're right. But even off leash, though, you'll get clues, because you'll see that dog that you said freeze up. You can see it, right? Say, okay, I know there's a problem, but how big of a problem is this really? We'll get that dog on the leash and lined up the intent with the demand. Just like I said, a selfish child can look great when they're playing their video games, right? They're moving around the house, but when is their bad attitude revealed? It's when the parent says, pick up the toys, because it's implied through the roles. It's parental influence online because you're the parent. Now you're going to see how bad, with a selfish child is. I ain't doing it. Versus here's $100, right? Oh, they'd be highly motivated to pick up their toys, right? See, the entire dog training world is based on that premise of here's $100. Right. And see, that's the problem here, is like you're dealing with a relationship problem. It doesn't even make sense. These trainers are trying to turn it into some sort of learning based exercise. See, things have gone off the rail since the beginning. So, but like you said, Mark, it's just like, the reality is that it's hard for people to shake out of this, because like these trainers are playing off of these dynamics in a way that it's like the permissive parent whose child's out of control. And things move along at a certain point where the child is like getting in conflict with other people, and they punch someone in the face, and then the parent says, I don't know what happened. It's that type of displaced blame, right? They can get out from underneath of it. That's kind of what's going on here. These trainers and these people can say, I don't know what happened. I don't understand. Must be the dog must have been. See, it's this thing about those appearances, right? They're playing the shell game. I think a lot of them know what they're doing. Like it's at such a level, I don't give them a pass. Say these people are doing it on purpose. Like they're so, but then there is a turning over point too, where I believe people are turned over the stuff. It's like a type of identity crisis because appearances can take your legs out, as you know. But like with your journey, Mark, because it comes down to the individual, because you got to a point where something bad happened, right? And you made the choice on your own to say, what is it? Like I like you sent that message to me, like how can you tell a real picture from a fake picture, right? Because you wanted, as an individual, you wanted to know. Like some of these trainers, I don't, it comes down to, I said this before, you can go into these groups of balanced trainers and you can seem to have like this support mechanism there and everyone's patting each other on the back, but you're not doing yourself any favors because at the end of the day, I want to know. Like that was my thing from the beginning, like years ago. I want to know what is going on here. And I even talk about my journey, like I put everything under the microscope, like years ago. Like, but I said to myself, I knew. So even when these trainers try to say, "Oh, Dale's saying stuff to try to gain popularity," that doesn't even make sense. I mean, I'm saying the most unpopular things on the planet here in the dog training community. So how can you even say I'm trying to be popular? I already knew. Like, I have less subscribers than you do, Mark. I mean, you know what I'm saying? But see, because I started at the beginning. I was like, I already knew I was going to be locked down here, but I had to be okay with that because it is an ethical thing for me. Because here's the thing: is like part of the problem here is like I know that like what has to be generated for people to be successful. Like, I could play because it's to me, it's like knowing, right? So it's like if I go in a situation, if I'm playing off treats and stuff, it's like for certain people that you could work out fine because the dynamics involved are such that you could end up with a really good result. But knowing what I know, I could never do that because I know what has to transfer over and how those core ingredients align and how they need to come together for the majority of people to be successful, to give people the best chance possible. So it does put me in a position of being in total conflict with the dog training community, right? Because they're not playing it that way, but they don't even know anyway. You know what I'm saying? They're not even dialed in that way to begin with. So there's so many things about how this layers up because one trainer said to me that does know, right, and he said he made an honest statement. He said, Dale, do you realize how difficult it is for people to accept what you're saying? About how difficult, because even my wife, when we had Polly years ago, and I had my wife out, doing the method I show people, she goes, and from emotion, she goes, Dale, do you realize how hard this is? Like, because it challenged her emotions. She's like she said, Dale, this is like very challenging. And she goes, I even know it's hard, right? Because it really is like a shell shock, right? It's like, but consider the parenting example. Like if your child is like out of control and selfish, you as a parent, you've got to do the right thing. If you don't, it's a choice that you make. It's like I'm not doing it because I hate dogs. Like people, I do it because I love people and dogs. But here's part of the problem too, Mark, is that for people to accept the truth, it oftentimes it's got to come through relationship. The people are going to listen to what I have to say are the people that know me at a personal level. You know what I'm saying? I sit down with them, I have a cup of coffee, right? We can break bread together and I can show that I really care. And then you're more apt to accept what I'm saying. If it's on social media and these trainers are out there and they're already suffering from identity crisis, I mean, how difficult is that to accept anything I'm saying? And they just want to rail against what I'm saying and whatever. I can't, this is why a lot of times I won't engage people like Kevin because I know what's going to result from that. He's not going to listen to me anyway. For you, it worked out great. Well, not the 3 hours you took the cheap shots back, but it worked out great in a way because it put him in that position with that leash. And of course, they're going to ride that wave. It's like great, Mark made him force them to do that. There's no way out now. But at a certain point, I'm just going to move on from him. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to hover on that guy forever. I put out a lot of content because my thing too is I put out content, Mark. It's like, okay, he ain't going to listen to anything. But there's people out there like those people that I just never knew anything about from the other country. Like they're watching all of it, and they're saying thank you, Dale, for because it's no use to Kevin. It might be at some point, maybe, but it's going to be used to a lot of other people, right? It's like the video content I put out. He may write it all off, but I'm not speaking directly to him in a lot of ways. I'm just using that. I'm saying, okay, he may not listen, but this is going to be good for somebody. And so, I recognize the value in that because a lot of times I take them, I flip on the script series. At times because I get frustrated. I'm like saying, you know what, I'm just done with the social media part of it. Doesn't mean that I've changed anything with what I do, Mark. They're just saying I want to disconnect from social media because it's not real to me. It's so fake and phony anyway. All these trainers are just, and I'll just remove, but they'll take a victory. They'll say, oh, look at what Dale did. because they don't have good motives anyway. But I'm just saying, no, I'm doing it for my own reasons because it's a distraction to me. I've never stopped training, helping people from the beginning, but then I will put it back up again because I'm like saying, you know what, I feel like an obligate. I need to put that stuff back up because I do have people. That's how Christian found them. Bushman, he said, Dale, I found you through the Flip and the Script series. Because a lot of these guys will go over to the other trainer, like Zach George, and they start somewhere, right? And then my video will pop up. If you find my video, it's like a friggin' miracle, really, because there's the majority of trainers out there putting out like all thousands of videos every day. I'm one guy, so if you find a video and it helps you, that's great. But I'm being transparent because I want people to understand where I'm coming from. I'm not a robot, and when these trainers are trying to attack me at a personal level, yeah, I don't like it at all. I get upset. It's hurtful, right? Saying these people are saying stuff to me about me that's not true. Because they don't know me that way. And so this is the thing that's so nasty about the dog training world is like these trainers are just like angry and they're offended for all the wrong reasons. I keep saying if you really care about dogs, like, and it just shows you they don't. Because if they did, they wouldn't be marketing this garbage in the first place, and they would be willing to listen. But you're an example of someone that's listening, Mark. That's why I say about your journey, and I'm not saying it was probably easy for you. You've been through a lot over this, but you still care enough to say, hey, and I guess your thing here lately is saying this is dangerous. Like, this is like a dangerous situation. You want to talk a little more about that, Mark? Just how you see this as I guess, a dangerous situation for people or with dogs.
No, because I just see, especially years ago, being inside of lots of people's houses, I just saw the real sticky situations that the dogs are biting on you, your clothes, biting on, just nibbling, doing these things like demanding, give me food, give me treats, give me this. I want to be on the couch. And the thing that people would do is just like smile. It's just my dog. They just like super passively, just like it is what it is. And the part that I can see that really starts to become dangerous if you one day decide, hey, I'm done with this. I'm get this dog to stop jumping on me, stop biting me, stop doing this. And I go and buy, because I hear this from so many people. I'm just going to get an e-collar off of Amazon. They're like $30. I'm going to put it on the dog. You put that on that dog and you give that dog a correction with that. And that dog for 5 years has been nibbling on you and you've been just passive and just giggling it off, like knowing that you don't want to get into the conflict. And the moment that you decide, I want to start to get into conflict with this dog, like, be careful, because not all dogs, but there's going to be the some that are just going to, even if it just punctures you enough, that's enough to make you look at the dog and say, I'm done. I have to get rid of this dog. And it's putting people up in a very sticky situation, especially if you're just going to one day get a pet corrector and just make a sound to try to get the dog to stop doing something it's been doing for so long. That could be putting so many people in very sticky situations. And it's like normalizing half of the dog training community of, the dog's biting on you, just give him a treat and give him a treat and give him a treat. And eventually he's going to stop doing that. And in my personal experience, I just haven't seen the dog that just stops doing that. They will sit there, but if you don't give them the treat in the allotted amount of time that the dog is demanding on you, it's doing what again? Jumping on you, biting you. It's doing all these things. And through years, the dog will start to get more and more empowered. And that's where it's like the right approach at that moment has to come and kick in to make sure that everyone's safe. Because I think that, I don't know, but I'm just thinking that a lot of people bail on a lot of training they've done because they end up in a conflict that does make the dog show teeth at them. And they're like, this is clearly not the approach I'm supposed to do. And it's like, for me, at the end of the day, I'm going to say the same thing. Like, if I'm calling in a trainer, I'm having a problem, and all of a sudden the trainer shows me to do this, this, and this, and 2 days later I have my dog is showing teeth at me, you're going to say, oh, that trainer doesn't know what he's doing. Or in my opinion, I would say he doesn't know what he's doing at this point today. But at that time, it's like, well, that's the mainstream way of doing things. But it's like, yeah, you're not going to follow through with that. You are going to get scared. If you're nervous to make a loud sound around the dog, around, say, their food, for instance, and you do it once and the dog just does that slow eyeball at you, it turns down, you're like, whoa, like, eat your food, buddy. Just go ahead and eat your food. And if you try to just jump in that situation with just this being free, I guess is a way of saying it, like not being connected to the dog in any way, not having a leash to at least be able to defend yourself if the dog did do something potentially to you, even to like it's that could be setting a lot of folks up for a lot of sticky situations that I think a lot of people are struggling with their dog in their house right now because they've gotten advice that they said it just didn't work. And then they're seeing that the dog is getting more pushy. So they're just like, oh, it is what it is. So they allow the dog to just keep getting more and more and more just hard, like rough, harsh. And then they just write it off as like, oh, it is with the dog. Then they go to the vet to go get medication to dial the dog back. And then it's just that route that I think that a lot of people are falling into that trap. On me just walking into my areas here, I have like we're one of the largest places that's new growth coming to. And I just see less and less and less dogs every year, the places that I go to. I did that video at that brushy creek when I'm sitting at the bench and the people behind me. 4 or 5 years ago, there would be hundreds of dogs and people out there. This time, there's maybe a dozen dogs and a lot of people all out there. It's like it's something weird is going on, and I think that people are really starting to see. I can't take my dog in public. If it looks at me like this, what's it going to do to that dog or that person or that kid? Something that I know scares a lot of people. My dog bites a kid if it's doing this stuff to me. So I'm just my own trends of knowing that my population growth here has almost like tripled since I've lived here for 8 years. How come it's like I'm seeing less animals out, and the ones that I see out, I mean, they're still barking and looking crazy, but at least the owners can pull them away and pull them back. I'm not seeing the dogs dragging people much anymore. But it's something weird's going on that I think that more people are literally seeing the issues, and the dogs are just getting more and more empowered that they're running the show. And to me, I don't want to live in a world that the dogs are running us humans. That is a dangerous world for us to be in, especially when we as humans are giving them the say so to be able to do that. That's not gonna be right. How many people can't come over your house because I have a dog? I can't do this because I have a dog. There's so many things you can't do because I have a dog. We're locked in our houses today because I have a dog. And that's not the way that any of us should be living. And a lot of advice that even I would give from dog training stuff I learned in dog training school is literally keeping people more locked down, more on that, what we call the control and management of that dog, of really kind of just making your world smaller and smaller and smaller. It's like you don't do this and don't do this and watch this and be out this and that's not the way to live at all.
No, and a lot of it, there's so much hypocrisy in the dog training world. Because I remember years ago, again, I encountered this person. I had a close relationship with them, and they were like top clicker trainer. I mean, really, they're this ideology. And I was like, I was the type of person, I want to see it. I want to put it on a microscope, show me like what, counter condition going on, and all these concepts. And this person's dog would do a great sit, like just look fantastic, but then trying to, chew my arms off 10 minutes later. The dog would be on her bed, right? I get close to her bed and just like, and the dog took off on her like in the woods for like 2 days, wouldn't come back. But then you see the person, like the hypocrisy, they would be elevating this dog up as their show dog. Understand, I went through all that. Like people have no clue the stuff that I've seen that I was able to put under the microscope to say, like, show me, I want to see it close and personal. I went through that for like months. And I knew, of course, I already knew, but I wanted to see it. I was like open minded, say, I want to see it. This works. But see, that's the hypocrisy. They admit her dog was a mess. And the dog would be like humping her leg, and she let the dog hump it, all the stuff in the back behind the scenes. And that's what happened. These people are. You find out they're fake and phony. They're out there, selling this picture. But if you get up close and personal, it all falls apart. You know what I'm saying? That's just the reality. I mean, and that's not just for, I mean, I've seen it. So it's like, but I'm not trying to say it to pump myself up. I'm just saying that's the way it is. And so social media is that type of thing. These people can get on social media all day long and go on about how great everything is, and it's not great. And I know the reality of that. So for me, it's just like, this is crazy. But you're right, Mark, getting back to this thing, like I think people are in the position now, they get so frustrated. It's like, why even bother going out in the public if I don't have a way to actually get my dog under control? But I think the good news is, I think as people, because I'm seeing it now, I'm starting to see more people get it. to say, okay, there is something wrong here, because it's going to turn around at some point, because some of these things have to get super bad for really, really bad before people start paying attention. And I think we're at that point now in the dog training world too, like all these controversies after controversy. I think people are paying attention, because what these trainers aren't telling you is, because I get the messages. I'm getting more and more communication from like trainers, and people are saying, Dale, you're right. Like, what is it? So that's going to turn. I'm not saying it's easy, because the information I put out can be very challenging, only because he's trained, because of what they've done. Like, they've ignored it for so long. So, but I say that's what makes dogs amazing. Dogs are amazing animals. Like, they blow this out of the water. So I appreciate that. I'm like saying, hey, we need to dial in, because, what happens is, I believe so many people miss out on what that connection represents. I mean, that connection, I think, as you've experienced it, Mark, as you get more and more change happening with your dog, especially with Kai. I mean, I asked you this question. Do you feel like you're at a deeper level with your dogs? Do you feel like there's like something more there happening?
Yeah, like that's the thing. I like him so much in that sense that it's just, I don't know. I just realized like yesterday, I just went out for a walk and I just like, hey, Kahi, come here. And I just point to the ground. He's just like, oh, okay, just lay down. Like, it's just like we're just working together. It's not like we're working against each other at all anymore. And things just are getting so much smoother. Because for me, it's how I wake up and see the dog. I want to see that dog all day and go to sleep. I want this same experience. I don't want to have to set up a training situation for him to look good and be this way and do that, because that's how, most of the times you go for walks. You go for a walk based on, this is a training thing. You look this way, you act this way, but then when we're out of this training thing on this walk, you're back to just, jumping on the windows and just going crazy. I want to see the consistent all day same thing. So that's why for me, like even my videos of saying, hey, things are looking great, things are going good. And then I just kind of have to like have a self-reflection of just stop, sit, and look at the dog right this second. What's going on? And I just, those are those times when I make the video of like, yeah, I got something to still work on here. Because even though I was saying, hey, things are good, things are good, things are good. Yeah, because I'm looking at it like things are good. But then I just have to really just, is it really though? Like, be honest with yourself, Mark, real quick. Like, just really look at the overall everything picture, not the walk here or how he looks here or how he lays in the kennel here or how he stays in the house here, but the overall entire picture. Where are we? That's what I've been looking for, the overall. I don't want to just, yeah, I could take, because that's how he was. Everyone that's ever seen me, known me, been around me in public with my dog Kahi, you're like, that's a really nice dog. Ever 5 years, 6 years almost now, 5 years ago, that's what people would say. This is a really nice dog. This dog walks with you, he follows you, he moves with you, he's off leash, he comes to you, he's a really nice dog. That's what people would say. But for me, in my mind, this entire time, I'm like, this dog is a nightmare. Like, there's something wrong with this dog. And I could sell it to folks who's like, oh, do you train dogs? I'm like, well, at that time, especially like, yeah, I train dogs, but I can make him look good on this walk. But everywhere else, why was he locked in the kennel in the back? Because he's fighting with all my dogs all the time, fighting with me all the time, couldn't sit still, just in everything all the time. So yeah, I left him back there for like pretty much 4 or 5 years of his life, because he's just an absolute nightmare. But so that's the thing of me, is I have to look the overall all day as a complete package. How are things going? Is this dog still running away? Is it still freezing up? Is it still barking? Is it still this? Is it like, what's going on with them in everything? And then when I get to that point that I'm like, I see that every scenario is good. I'm like, now I'm seeing, like, I know that things are fine. I could put, so for me, easy. It is pretty easy to figure out. For me, it's just point. I don't know. It just makes sense. Just put a leash on a dog and see what it does. If the dog is still barking, going and doing all this with the leash on the dog, there's something weird going on. If I have to give it a leash correction or a bump with the e-collar to get them to still want to be with me, there's something weird going on. That means that there's still something to work through. So that's been something to me that's been kind of easy to just figure out. I just grab a dog. Oh, you say your dog is so good? Put a leash on a dog. Let's see what it does. And you can literally like see in that instance, in that second of everything, what's happening right here. It really is. It's that simple. If the dog does, if you're pulling the leash and doesn't want to come to you, that's something going on right now. Because why doesn't it want to come to you? Especially if the dog trusts you, right? It should just want to be with you. If the dog is doing anything, it's just like we have to really analyze that to say, like, what's happening here? And then I've even noticed, like, not even just have it on leash, but having them on leash and kind of like pulling them to you a little bit. They're like, hey, come here, be with me. Like, stay real close to me, real next to my side. And that dog was like really close with the, like, you don't have to you're not dragging a dog up or nothing, but you just have the dog snug on that leash right next to you. See what he does. If he's doing anything, it's just like, well, what's going on with you, buddy? Like, what's happening? To me, it's like, I don't know. Today, it's just real simple. It's real simple to see that. And I do that with, even my Great Pyrenees that I mean, these technically don't leash train Great Pyrenees. They're out in the field doing what they're doing. But I was like, shoot, I just want to put a leash on this dog as well and see what's about to happen with this dog. And I do that. And I'm like, oh, okay, we're good. Like, we actually, I don't know. I think Great Pyrenees are some of the easiest dogs to work with because, I don't know, they're just protecting my animals. So I don't really have to do too much with them. But some of the easiest dogs because I don't know why. He just came pre-programmed to just like want to be there with me. I tell him to stop barking, he stops barking. It's just, he's been a different experience of a dog for me. But for me, even at that, I was like, oh, he does that, but let me put a leash on him to see how does he really see me. And he was even fine with it because, like a lot of those dogs, they don't like leashes and collars. They're like real suspicious and weary of it. But he even was just like, oh, okay, well, this is just what we're doing. He just stands next to my son. He's like, okay, so what's going on? I'm like, all right, okay, let's move on and keep going. I've just been noticing that if everything is fine, if everything is good, you should be able to snugly hold that leash on that dog. It should just stand there. And I don't care what's going on around. It should just stand there. If it's not just standing there, what's happening right now? What's going on? That's just like something so simple for me that for me, I know why some people don't want to do it because it may not give you the image that you wanted or the way you thought it was going to be. It may challenge you in that way of like, because that was for me hard to do at first when you're like, hey, just put the leash and do this. And I was like, in reality, it took me probably a couple of weeks. So I was like, I don't even want to know. I don't even want to know. Like, I want to live in this fairy tale that everything is fine. Like, I don't even want to know. Like, I just want to think that it's okay and not really know that it's okay.
Yeah. So, Mark, how do you see like your journey now? Like, I guess you've gone on social media, but you're kind of, where do you see you at now, or where do you see where this is going? I know that on the debate you did, it was kind of funny about that debate because people say, well, Dale knew or he knew. Well, I didn't know nothing. In fact, here's the crazy thing: I was down in Melbourne at my condo down there, and I was in the Ollie's store shop with my wife, and then that debate popped up on my feed. It's like, so there it was. We were already like an hour into it. I'm like looking at it. My wife's like, what are you listening to? You could hear this back and forth, right? And she's like, turn that down. I had on speaker, right? All these people in the store. I'm like, what is going on? Because I had no clue that was even happening, right? So because we're not, you can tell people, like people say, oh, Dale is like tied into Mark a certain way. Well, the great thing about this is we're not. I mean, great in the sense of he's figuring this out on his own. We're not, we're not getting together because I think the funny thing, I laughed. Kevin said, well, he said, I know Dale is like, they're setting me up. He said something about setting them up. Like before it was like, I was like, I'm not setting anything up. I mean, he's setting himself up because I had nothing to do because just funny story. I was down in Melbourne, and it just popped up. It was like, this is crazy. But you can tell people in their own words, like, I gave you access to a couple of areas, but you've been figuring this out on your own, Mark.
Yeah, I've just been watching your stuff and just really trying my best to. This is something I learned in a group class years ago of have a beginner's mind. Stop bringing anything old that you know in and just look at this and just work on that with what you're seeing and start to just focus on that and don't bring anything else in. And that's just literally what I've been trying to do, and not even like trying to do, but working really diligently on being able to do is just everything that I've done and known and cared about, just let it go. Just let it all go and just really listen in and just see what this information has to say. And then listen to the information. So for me, I have to listen to things, see things for a little bit before I really like start to put it into practice or even at the end of the day, really understand it. I have to just watch it and just let it marinate, sit, sleep a couple of days, I just keep doing that. So that's what I've just been doing is I'll just watch a video that you've had. And then I'm just like, okay, if that doesn't even make sense for the second that I'm seeing it, I've seen it. And okay, now I can process that throughout my day, just doing chores I'm doing out here. And then it just hits me. It's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Like I get that now. That finally, okay, I see why he said that. I see why he moved like that even, and is doing that in that specific scenario. And it made much more sense to me. And then I just keep doing that as I guess say a snowball effect of just trying to figure out more and more and more of just going further into different things that you had to say. And mainly for me, it's kind of more of I see things easier than I can even hear things. So when I'm seeing something and then I'm just looking at me and my dog and I see something, I'm like, okay, I see, like I get to start lining it up of like, this is what's going on. And then, okay, when you see this is, you want to do this instead now next. And I'm like, so that's just all that I've been doing is that I kind of, how do I say this? There's something that I was helping one of my buddies out, and a guy said something to him. He says, "Buddy, you have a problem with authority." And then in my mind, I'm like, yes, that's why he's an independent contractor, that he's not an employee. And I realize I'm that same way. That's why I'm an independent contractor. That's why I'm not an employee. So for me, I look at everything that way, where I have to make the decision on my own what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to go ahead and move into it and say, okay, this is where I want to go. I don't do good when someone's just like, you got to do this. I just don't. I can't function that way. Like maybe I'm just too disagreeable. I need to learn to let that go myself as well. But it's just like I have to be the one to figure it out. I have to one to make that decision. Can't nobody put it on me. And that's something that I hear a lot of these guys always saying. It's like, oh, now, oh, Dale, you this and this. And then before it's like, oh, it was Robert, this is this and this. It's just like they have to do that because they have nothing else to say. And at the end of the day, the number one way to really get to somebody is the words you use is the personal attack. That's the only way. Because I had one of my friends listen to this podcast. She's like, this dude is swearing at you, like calling you names. And she's like, I am so surprised that you just smooth right through it. She's like, I learned so much more about you at this point right now. And I'm like, that's all well, Mark, that can happen.
You're a better person than I am that way. I just don't like, that's why going back to the Christopher Upton situation, and because everyone's different, right? It's just like, number one is like, I don't have anything to prove to anybody. You know what I'm saying? Like I put the information out because everything I say can be put to the test. So it's not like I have to, that's why I keep saying for me, the debate is over. And that's not meant to be a prideful statement because I've already settled it. Like I've already, this is a complete system. There's an original source system. This doesn't follow Brandon Fouché or Cesar Mon. But here's the thing: you got to start somewhere, of course. Like I started in the parameters of learning theory with my first police dog. So that's not meant to be a cheap shot or anything like that. Like, of course, you got to start somewhere, right, based on the dog training community. But there has to be a point you reach where you're asking more questions. You're saying, okay, what's going? Because I remember being on a conference one time with my first police dog, my second police dog. I was in Quebec City, and I remember Brian Am. He's like a top police canine trainer in all Canada. He's a police officer in British Columbia, but he's like for tracking, hard surface tracking. And I went down there. It was like on the course. I was like, I was getting pretty good with the second police dog, but I still had questions, right? And I wanted to get Brian in a corner somewhere, really like put the questions to him in a good way. And it just worked out great because here's the thing: we went down there and like I couldn't speak French, and so we were surrounded by a group of guys that they just want to communicate in French. Well, guess what? Brian Am, he couldn't speak French either. So we ended up together, like eating food together. I thought it was great. I was like, I got this guy all to myself for like a week. And I was just like, but that was the thing. I was like, ask him questions, but he couldn't even answer a couple of them. I couldn't either. But I endeavored to say, I'm going to figure this out. Like, I want to figure this out. And, but that's where it starts. But getting back to this thing about the with these trainers and the cheap shots, and they want to go there because they're on the defensive. You know what I'm saying? Like they're, why are you going to engage in debate? Like they're even debating with each other. It doesn't make sense. Okay, they're debating and they're pretending like they have the answers at the same time. And I thought it was interesting. They were on one of these podcasts with Bill Church, one of these trainers, that actually, people say, well, if someone pretends to have it figured out, they're lying. I'm thinking, what type of statement is that? They're saying if you pretend to figure it out, but then you're actually marketing your, it's like, come on now, like this is like crazy now. This is like crazy talk. But all to say, to get back to the chief, is like I'm the type of person is like I'll have a discussion. Like I went on Miracle Canine, and we can watch it. But I went through the controversies, right? And because I'm saying, like, Kevin will go on and say the controversies mean nothing. Like, he just made that statement, like let's not talk about them. I said, no, let's talk about them because we need to talk about them in the context of what's going on here. Not focus on the individuals. I've always said that. Like, when I do the flipping the script, I'm not like Jeff Gellman's a bad person. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying, okay, like the bonker and how everyone piled onto that situation, balanced dog trainers included, trying to label it as abuse. I say it wasn't abuse, it was confusion, and let's figure this out, right? That's my thing, is like, these are opportunities for anyone can take those controversies and say, what is going on? Because they all point directly towards what I'm saying is the source of the problem. So, but see, it's hard because the trainers, they don't want to go there. But the game of a single debate, yeah, you're a big person to go on there. And Kevin, like, that's why I don't bother. Like, I'm not going to go on there and have a talk with him because my conversation with him, I should never brought him on my first podcast. I'll admit that. I should have audited his method, because what was the point that it all fell apart was when I got into the loose leash thing, right? And he went crazy. He started putting videos up because that was the point of him being offended, right? And it's all going to fall apart anyway, because it will, because I'm solid in what I'm saying. This is it. So if I have a conversation with somebody, trust me, it's all going to break down at a certain point if they have a certain idea, right? Because it matters. That's the point. It matters. The method matters. But all to say that, yeah, you went on there, but the thing is, good. I always believe good always comes out of everything, right? And so even in that conversation I had with him, it put him in that position of that leash method, which blew it out of the water right there. I already knew, but then he lined it up. He could have done that a year ago. He did it because he felt pressure from you having that conversation. And don't get me wrong, it's like, I'm not trying to ruin anybody. Like, I don't go in there hating on Kevin and thinking that I want his business to, I don't think that way. I'm just saying, you want to come at me, I'm going to do it my way. I'm not going to talk to you. I'm not going to have a debate and go on like that. It's foolishness to me. I'll put out videos with information. That's how I'm going to deal with it. And notice, I'm not on his live, so I don't leave comments on his channel, because if I ban you off of there because of your foolishness, I'm not going to come onto your channel and start to leave comments, because that's hypocrisy. But I will respond to videos because they're going to be useful to somebody. But I'm not going to rail forever. I'll stop at some point. I'm not going to mention his name. I shouldn't say that, because I'll respond, to the foolishness. Because with Upton, I stopped doing that, because Upton put up videos with my family, and I just let it all. I should have probably just left that crap, all of it up there, responding, because at some point it's almost like you have to, and that's always the struggle with me, is like, at what level do you engage these people? The dog training world sucks, because to me, my focus is I want to stay positive. People have to understand I have a life outside dog training, my wife, and I have friendships, and so it's like the real me isn't reflected in what's going on in the dog training community. To me, that's so toxic. It's so bad that's why I step out of it, because it's like, to me, it's so negative anyway, because these trainers they're just doing this all day long. They're trashing each other and they're going on. And I'm thinking, this is ridiculous. So I'm here focused on helping people like yourself, and there's other people, but but that's a personal choice. You have to want it. And the people that don't want it, like, they're missing out to begin with. I see it that way. They're missing out on so much. They're missing out on experiencing how great dogs really are. They're missing out on that level of that connection. They're missing out on, and being able to help it. So, what do you say? People can package this up any way they want, and they take things out of context. They've gone into my stuff, say, oh, Dale this and Dale that. I'll talk through it and I'll explain it, and then people can take away, because I'm not trying to convince everybody. It's not even about that, because guys like Murdoch, whoever, they're always going to have people going to follow them. Like, one of them, interesting, has got like 12 fake accounts. Like, the people I banned off of my channel are the ones that these people will gather up for support. That's crazy to me. It's like, ethically and morally, why you align yourself with people like that? Because you're like that. I mean, that's the problem. Is like, because they're doing the same stuff, the cheap shots and the arrogance. But it's just a bad place. I'll say, I'm not going on a bit of a rant here, but not really. It's just like saying, but I think, Mark, as you go through it, it's like a moth to the flame. I think it's like the same triggering effect. You have the same people coming at you, because on that thing, it's like you said the same thing. It's like for Kevin, like, why are you coming on to my channel? Like, why are you coming after? Like, why? Like, big deal, move on. But they won't do that. It's like they'll do the same thing that Upton did years ago. Because there's a funny story there. Upton, I didn't even know who this guy was. I was doing my flipping the script series, Mark, And I had no idea he was caught up in all this controversy over there in the UK. He comes onto my videos and starts leaving all these crazy comments. It's like they like challenging me. I'm like, and I just on the web like, okay, I'll type his name. Who is he? And I see he's got this the Gelman situation. He has this on like he caught up in all this controversy where he interacted with a dog. He's all over. They even profiled it on Field and Sports. And I'm like, this is crazy. The very guy, but this is how it works. So of course I did my flipping the script video on that, which drove him even crazier. Like he just went ballistic. I mean, I was just information. I said, well, he's profiled anyway. I'll just probably make it part of my flipping the script series. But see, this is the crazy part of the dog training world. It's so caught up in this stuff that it's like they can't see the reality of what's going on. And you have all these balanced dog trainers. And here's the crazy part: they're debating with each other over the role of remote callers. You saw the Ivan and Larry situation, the back and forth, like they're trying to tear each other down, like arguing about while they're being banned at the same time. Like that's crazy. Like so, if I was in the government official, I'd be looking at it saying, "Sure, we should ban them. These
Yeah.
guys can't even get along with each other." Like you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's so to me, Mark. It's so there's so many crazy things happening in the dog training world, and it's like these people can't even see it or something. They're like turned over to it. I'm just putting it out there saying, here it is. What do you do? I mean, it's like I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. But what's your take on, I guess, some of that, Mark? How do you see things, I guess, from that perspective?
I see it as I engage and then move forward in my life. And I've noticed the biggest problem is with people is they're in their world so much that, again, I don't know why a lot of people watch my videos. If you're just so against and I'm just so wrong, just go away. But it's like they can't go away and they're studying every single word that I say to say you're talking about me. And I'm like, I'm talking about me. I'm talking about any and everything. And they just get focused on you're talking about me. And then they have to come and make all these claims and all this stuff. And it's just like, that's the part that for me personally, I'm trying, not even trying, I'm doing pretty good at being able to just move forward in my life with being able to know that's just life. And that's kind of been my life ever since. It's just easier for people to get to me because of the internet stuff. But I've always had that in my personal life anyways. There's just my little schools and things that I've done and track running. And I've always had this stuff. And it's something that I just keep working towards. I'm going to keep working on my dogs, working with more dogs, working with just other people. I'm just going to keep working forward and just leave everything else behind. As much as they want to keep trying to do something, say something, be something, it's just you just stay back there. Because it's like, even I've taken a couple of comments off my channel along the way, and I take it off because it's to me it's just hateful. It's coming from a place of hate. It's not coming from a place of anything. And I don't need that around me. I don't need anyone to even see that's around me. And if I keep that around me, it's like that's just what more is going to want to keep coming around. And it's like I'm moving forward. I'm moving forward.
Yeah,
You
it's a
doing
good.
what you're doing, keep doing what you're doing. But
No,
I'm
that's a good attitude, Mark. I mean, it really is. I mean, with me, I've struggled in that. I mean, before I've opened up the comment section and it just degrades into this like personal attacks. I've had death threats from balanced dog trainers over in the UK. But to wake up in the morning and read that stuff, it affects you. So
yeah.
I try to find the balance in that. I've taken down videos in the past because it's the same position. Say I'm just moving on, but the thing is, but then it's like the moth to the flame. It doesn't stop anyway. It's not that I have to respond in kind or anything, but I'm decided that I'm putting. And don't get me wrong, you could be right better than I am in that. Like that's always going to be my struggle in the social media part of it because that's why people wonder why it is I go back and forth. It's not because the systems change or anything I say isn't 100%. It's my struggle with social media with dealing with the level of hatred and negativity from this community. And so because for me, it's like I live my life. I want to be content. I'm a happy guy. And so when you get that level of hatred, it's going to affect you at
Yeah.
some level because you get frustrated. You want to lash out. And I've been accused of and then it's so distracting at the same time. So for me, I've always wavered, but I'm trying to find the balance in that. So yeah, so I banned all these people off my channel, so I don't want to read their comments, and I'll respond by way of video content. But there is a still like moving forward. Like Kevin, for example, I'm soon here after I won't hear me talk about him again. Not to say I won't respond at some point to him again, but I'm trying to just moderate it so that, I want to try my best. It's hard, it's a struggle to be focused on those who are seeking help and because the dog training community, all that controversy, it's going to keep happening. People have to understand that it's not going to get better. It's going to get worse and worse and worse because, when you embrace a lie, right, that's what happens. It's going to bring all that stuff on, all the confusion, the anger, the hatred. But it is a moth to the flame situation, just so he realized that, yeah, people are gonna come after you because they can't help themselves. It's not that they can't help themselves; it's a person's choice. But it brings that anger in them. It's like saying, I want to try to tear this person down because they're saying something that is, it's a spiritual. It is. It's
Yeah.
a spiritual principle. I mean, I
It
know
is.
that. So it's this type of stronghold situation going on in the dog training community because it's really bad. And so, but in saying that, I appreciate you coming on, Mark. We're an hour and a half, we're wrapping, but you said lots of great stuff here. If people, I guess, love to have you come on here as a regular guest here every once in a while. But if people want to find you, Mark, I guess it's something you can answer. So, what's your situation right now with dog training? Are you intend to move forward and start to officially kind of relaunch into it here? Like how's that looking? I hope you are. I have a personal bias here, but because of doing, but how do you see your future with the dog training part at this point of your journey?
So right now I'm just studying and researching more. So I'm like going to be going through your course stuff to just learn more to figure out, and then just really just, I guess, at the end of the day, get a real good, true grasp of what it is that you talk about and what it is that you do. Right now, I have like the outside view, I guess, of trying to, but I kind of want to just really just pretty much know and go through the whole thing to just figure out, okay, this is exactly what this guy is doing, and just so that I can just know more as opposed to just going out and saying, oh, I've got this figured out, and so I'm just trying to do that more, and then I'll work through that more, and then I'm going to just, I don't know, I just kind of just keep going along with however it happens. And so right now, that's just where I'm at. That I'm watching some more of your stuff with the course stuff, and then starting to implement that with, how do I say this? Implement that more, not even say like with my dogs, but just my understanding of everything that I've been doing and knowing. Because a lot of things I have to let go of, where I can hear you say something. I'm like, yeah, but this is, so it's like I kind of just I'm trying to let all that go to just get a good of what it is that you're talking about and what it is that you're doing. And then I'll go ahead and see where I am at that stage to just keep, because they're already at this point now, I've done some stuff with a couple of people's dogs, just working with them, and then I have them do the same thing, and already seeing something that just it's really neat. It's really neat, much different than anything that I used to be doing before. That it's really able to slow the dog's mind down, I guess, is the main way that I'm looking at this. The dogs are just everywhere, and I need to just slow that down, and I need to slow it down in a way that the dog understands. It's not through playing, it's not through exercise, and it's not through punishment, like just you better or else. None of that's good. It just doesn't work. It may work short term, I'll give you that, because I have seen things work short term, but I don't want the short term stuff. I want something that could be consistently done to the point that everything just gets easier and easier and easier in the end. Not that I need more and more and more in the future. So I'm just working on that for now, and then just learning as much as I can to be able to, in reality, for now, kind of doing free stuff for people to just test it out, to see like, hey, what's going on here? Let's try this out. Let's do this. I know this doesn't go along with what you've known before, but somehow, some way, I've always been pretty good at this, but I've noticed I'm pretty good at being able to just communicate to folks of like, don't worry about that. This is what we're going to do now. And they could just, they're like, okay, I understand that. That's something that I know that when people, I mean, I've had that comment before, just trust me, I know what I'm doing, with no track record history. I know that I'm a person that's like that just people just follow me. I don't know why, but people hear what I have to say and they're just like, okay, I want to do that. So not to say I'm going to use that as my advantage, but if that's something that's who I am, that's how I know that I'm going to be able to help people the way that I know that people actually really need help. That they've seen this and heard this and been doing that. And I'm like, well, how's it going? And then I'm like, let's do it like this. So that's where I'm headed to really be able to move forward. So right now it's just a stage of just say education right now again, say re-education from the education that I've already had about the dog stuff that I've done. The education I learned about dogs is great at the dog training school, like just the different breeds and hair and CPR and stuff like that. It's great. But as far as the training aspect of it, that's the part that I'm trying to, in reality, almost erase for a little while, just not even worry about any of that, to move into something different, to not have it be muddied with what it is that I'm doing. So I'm just re-educating, and then I want to do that, and then I'm going to, figure where am I going next. I'll get there when I get there. But right now, my plan is I'm re-educating so that I can be able to get out to be able to help folks with issues that they have going on. That, in my experience so far, living in a household, especially with two dogs that are trying to absolutely kill each other to the point that now they're just hanging out on the patio together, and I could put them anywhere together and we're just relaxed. There's something powerful with even my outside view of not even being fully educated yet in what it is that I've been working with. So I'm really wanting to figure, because that's an issue that in dog training world, people don't really solve that in-home dog fighting problem. And somehow I've taken two high drive, like very strong minded dogs to just, y'all fine, you guys will be all right. And they are. I can do everything with them together. And it's a it's a really cool thing. So I know the power above this compared to anything that I've ever even learned before. And it's weird because it's, to me at this point, it's something so simple. It's something so simple and so routine that's why it makes it simple, that I'm not worried about another treat and another this and another that. It's pretty neat to me. I've seen things in my personal house that's just been exceptionally better, that I don't worry about anymore. And it's to me, that's life changing, because it makes my life easy. For one, I don't have to go do this with this dog, and worry about stay away from his kennel, stay away from the front area. It's just, that's a nightmare of living. So I'm just re-educating, and then I'm going to continue to go forward from there. But as far as like right now, today, how I know I'm going to be working with dogs and working with people. That's just what I've always, not always, but past, since I've been out here in the farm. In reality, that's what I want to do, is help people with animals, but especially like dogs. And I might do horses again at some point, but especially the dogs. And I just had to stop because I wasn't happy with what was going on. So I had to just say to myself, I can't keep putting this out there. I have to stop.
Well, the thing is, actually took the time to get away from like social media. I mean, that's a good thing. I talk about critical thinking, to actually be alone, because when I went through my journey, Mark, when I was like way back getting like really putting everything together, I was kind of, at the time I went through a divorce, and my job was changing. It was coming, but it was like I was in a rural area in Prince Edward Island, but we were walking out in the field, and just field just like beautiful, like the rolling hills in Prince Edward Island, the field, the grass, the wind blowing, and being out there just by myself and just being in the moment and being able to just reflect, like kind of doing a self audit on everything, my life, about dogs, about what made dogs amazing. There's a certain honesty with dogs, like no matter what you go through in life, it could be people go through hard things, knowing that dogs have always been with me that way. A type of, a way that a type of honesty is a way I see, a type of purity that just would always be with you, that connection. It was amazing. It's amazing. And so by being able to just take the time to think about, okay, what about this? What about that? Like the deeper questions about that relationship, saying, no, there's more than just that transcends appearances. Appearances seem to be the problem here. Like, what is it about dogs? Well, there's depth of relationship. They're amazing animals. So, but I appreciate the way you talk. I mean, you go on your videos, and there's something that is really magnetic about how you're able to talk about certain things, that really, you word things in a way that really resonate, I feel, with people. So you have a true gift there. But I feel like you put this together with the method, it's going to be like the full package. because you have a way of wording things that comes off better than I do, even with describing some of the things about the method. That's the good thing about this is like, when people are talking about this, because I think sometimes some of the things, like you said, when you're doing the actual method, you have to actually have that experience with the actual, say, with Kaihu, with the dog, to actually say, oh, now this makes sense. But
Yeah.
just hearing it sometimes doesn't make sense. But when you're doing it, then that makes that connection point to say, okay, what Dale said here, whatever, that makes sense now. The light bulbs start coming on, but that takes time. I tell people all the time, like when I'm doing sessions with people, it's like the first session, some things can seem a little muddy, but after like the second, third session, it's like, okay, now this really makes sense, right? Because it takes
Yeah.
like 3 weeks, for example, for things to kind of, solidify. So it does take time. It's not like saying it's like it can be, but for as a trainer already established, it can be more difficult because now you got to back out of everything else. I mean, you got
Yeah.
to, because really it's totally, you got to put everything to the side. And so saying that you're going through the courses. So yeah, Mark's going through the courses. I mean, he can, if people have questions or whatever, I'm not just trying to market myself that way, but he's able to, put things together. So I'm excited for you, Mark. And I appreciate you coming on here, having this conversation because, it's a kind of reality of how things are in the dog training world. I think your heart is like mine. Like I have no ill will towards anybody. Even on social media, I don't like what people are saying about me sometimes because I know it's not true. You take things out of context, but that's the reality of where we're at, unfortunately. So, but my goal is to talk through everything. Say, okay, here's what it is. You can put everything I say to or Mark says to the test. But anyway, Mark, I really appreciate you coming on, and I want to have you on as a regular guest here as you continue through your journey. You can, talk through things, and so. But if people want to find you, how would they get in contact with you, Mark, if they're looking for help in your area?
Uh, I don't even know at this point right now. I don't have no website, no nothing set up, so I'm kind of just
Well, I shouldn't say that.
here.
I put myself out there, so maybe you're not at that point anyway of putting yourself out there. But I guess we'll leave that up to as you get kind of relaunched there at some point.
Yeah.
I guess that'll become more of a reality. But they can find your YouTube channel because I
Yeah.
assume you're gonna continue to talk and put out some videos here coming up, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm been just furthering on the stuff with my videos, just showing just little things that I'm working with and working through with the dogs, and I'm just going to continue to keep pushing that forward, and then explaining from what I know so far along the way of why I'm doing the certain things and what I'm looking for, and just all of that to be able to kind of put more info out. As much as I don't want to get more dogs, I feel like I probably will end up having to just kind of have like a start of this is where we are this week, and then kind of doing things like that, and just keep working at that to, for one, just kind of be able to put something out there that everyone has this, I don't know why, but this thing with you and your videos of like, oh my goodness, look at this. And it's like, I don't think that people are really understanding the total context of what's happening. They just click on, they just like, oh no, that's not going to work, without understanding the context of what's happening here and the whole scenario of why things are the way they are. So for me, I kind of want to explain how I see it, and
Mhm.
do things how I see it, to be able to
Sure.
push it a little further along of like, why is the dog doing this right now? Someone would say, oh,
Mhm.
it's because the dog is scared of you, of this and this and that. And it's like, slow all that language down. Like, what's going on here? Kind of, that's what I really want to be able to continue the videos on with, re-educating myself and being able to move forward. And the main thing that I just know is forgive them, for they know not what they're doing. That's just what I always just remember.
Yeah, well,
Most
people are
folks just
going
don't
in.
know.
Yeah, well, they're coming
Yeah.
from a place of being offended, based on what they've come into agreement with, like their identity, right? So that's true. I mean, it's like sometimes you gotta let it go, not get like take it personal, but it's hard not. It's hard not to when they're
Yeah.
coming. They're saying crap. I'm like, I
Yeah.
can respond, but I just try to temper it back. But you're right. Like between like when people, and that's a great thing. You put out videos, people go watch your stuff, say, and then you watch my stuff. May not get it through my stuff, but then you have a certain way of saying, "Oh, okay, I watched Mark's video. He's talking about control and influence." Okay, that and that's how it works. Like, fun. It was a funny story. I was like, I found that people from, I think they're from Russia. these dog trainers, but I was like, I just found them yesterday. So my wife was out in the kitchen making something. I was like, had my speaker on, and they were the auto translate. You know how it's like that
Yeah.
bad dub, like the kung fu movie. You know,
Yeah.
it's like she's like hearing this over there. She goes, "What is going on?" She could hear them talking in Russian. I said, "I found some new people here. They're like doing my method." She was like laughing. She said, "Dale, you need to shut that down. This is getting sounding crazy now." It wasn't sounding, but she was just teasing me. But she was like, but that's how it works. Is like, that's the goal. Is like you're not limited. You could be from wherever in the world, and the method speaks languages because it's like a connection. It's like dogs are amazing, so that transfers over to wherever, whatever. And that's the amazing thing about dogs is like people can find that connection no matter where you live, no matter what is your trainer. Because I talk about balance trainers, force free trainers. Listen, people, if someone came to me, if Kevin Murdoch of all people came to me tomorrow, he'd have to apologize first for some of the crap he's saying, but came to me tomorrow and said, Dale, I need you, I want your help. I'd help him. That's my heart. So it's people understand here. It's like saying like, I'm not, but don't keep coming. People want to keep coming at me. You're going to be thrown on I'll say, you're going to be thrown on the rocks of your ideology because it's information. You can put everything I say to the test. So people want to do that. I'm going to keep putting out video. I'm going to put out videos anyway, but there is a moving on too. It's like, I'm like, what's left to say with people. It's like, it's hard. It's a hard thing, but anyway, Mark, I appreciate you coming on and in your journey talking about it. Yeah, people can go over to Mark's channel. I encourage them, watch his videos. He has lots, there's a certain way, lots of great content. And Mark, I'll have you on again, but thanks again, Mark, coming on. I appreciate the conversation and I appreciate everything.
All righty.
Okay. And so there we go.